I would like to welcome you to today's webinar, Strategic Approach to Windows 7 Migration. My name is Helen Ching, and I am the Director of Marketing at Futurestate IT. I will be your moderator for today's webinar. Juriba Limited and Futurestate IT have teamed up today to discuss how to take a strategic approach to Windows 7 migration. We will provide must-know tips and best practices for the entire project, from initial assessment and planning to application compatibility to remediation and packaging to deployment. Learn how utilizing cloud solutions and following a smart approach to assess and project manage your Windows 7 migration can make all the difference. I would like to introduce the two people that will be presenting today. First, from Juriba. Barry Angel is the co-founder and CTO at Juriba. He is located in London, UK, and has 15 years of desktop management and transformation experience. Juriba is a Microsoft, Citrix, AppDNA, and Changebase partner, and offers the Dashworks product to efficiently manage desktop migration projects. Next, from Futurestate IT, Brian Wiedenberg is the Head of Architecture at Futurestate IT. He is located in Toronto, Canada, and has 15 years of IT and consulting experience designing software solutions. Futurestate IT is a Microsoft and AppDNA partner and offers the AppRx product to help you assess your applications and speed up migrations. I will quickly go through the agenda to set the stage. Then I will hand the reins over to Brian and Barry. We're going to quickly touch on the Windows XP challenge that many IT managers are facing today and the April 2014 deadline that is approaching. We're going to cover how to come up with a transformation strategy to migrate to Windows 7. Then we will get down to business and get into the details. After the formal presentation, we're going to have a quick Q&A session. Please note that your audio has been muted, so please use the question box in your GoToWebinar control to submit questions. At the end of the webinar, we will be providing you with the follow-up contacts if you would like to get in touch with us after the webinar. And we'll send you a follow-up email with a link to the recording. Now let me hand the control over to Barry to get the discussion started.
Okay, so do we know, but there's only 769 days left before Windows XP goes end of life. That's 480 working days left. So with analysts predicting a minimum of 12 to 24 months of work effort, it felt like a good time to review some of the best practice, tools and techniques that can help your organization achieve deployment in this tight time frame. So what are the main challenges we're facing? Well, primarily we've got two. Number one is around budget. We still have Gartner predicting migration expense somewhere between $1,000 and $1,900 per user. That's a big budget to find in this current time of economic uncertainty. And secondly, we're finding a lot of organizations stuck on applications. Now, from a recent Gartner poll on the right-hand side, you can see that 49% of organizations are into their migration planning phase but haven't really started application testing. 16% of organizations still haven't started at all, and Gartner would argue that those organizations really need to get going now. In addition to this, 55% of desktop professionals in one of our Juriba surveys answered that application readiness is the biggest blocker to migration. So really, budget and applications are two areas that we need to focus on to try and get this migration started and completed in the most efficient time frame. Now, if we look at what's happened historically, most desktop transformations have run something a little like this. So a very slow ramp up, deploying larger volumes towards the end of the program, and quite often having a large tail at the end of that program that then gets completed by BAU once the budget and the resource have long left site. And what we believe we can achieve with a more strategic approach is something that looks a little bit like this, which is much more of a double camel hump migration. So when we've talked to most project managers out there, they really aspire to this type of migration, which is delivering some much higher and larger volumes much earlier on in the program, and then buying themselves time, but maintaining a consistently high deployment level right the way through the more complex stuff, and in the end achieving a much faster migration, which essentially means lower cost, less business disruption, and much faster standardization across your organization. And today's webinar, we're going to be focusing on how we can try and drive this type of migration timeline in your organization. So let's have a look at what's happening in the field today. We've asked a couple of questions within our Windows 7 project management group in LinkedIn, and we have a number of desktop professionals across the globe that are members of this group, and we asked them where they felt they could best accelerate desktop transformation. Now, the interesting thing about this poll was that we got answers across the board, which essentially means that unfortunately there's probably no one silver bullet to this particular problem. But what did come out was that application discovery and rationalization was clearly one of the areas that could give us a significant benefit. So essentially, understanding what we've got, understanding how it's being used, and then making it smaller so that what we take forward into the future state of our organization is a much, much easier transition than taking everything we've got and just moving it to the next platform. Secondly, we asked what the main blocker was to desktop transformation today. And as I've said before, there's two key areas here. Number one is budget availability, but a huge winner in this poll was application readiness. So clearly, whether we're going virtual or fat client or a mixture of the two, it's the applications that are holding us up. And so what we're going to be looking at today is how we can much better manage that application portfolio, not only just in terms of analysis, but right the way through the end-to-end transformation lifecycle. So what we've done is we've split the webinar today into three key elements. And these three steps are what we believe will help us towards a more strategic plan for desktop transformation. So number one being assessment and planning, number two being application portfolio management, and number three being readiness management. And if we can do a great job of all of those three elements, then we should really help achieve desktop transformation in the fastest time possible. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Brian, who's going to talk much more about stages 1 and 2 in this strategic thinking process. So, Brian.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Barry. Okay, so this is a little bit of background about Futurestate IT. So we come from a consulting background where we provided migration services to clients using more traditional manual methods as well as traditional software. By creating a SaaS solution for migration, we're giving customers the ability to not only increase the speed of their migration, but also lower project costs through increased automation as well. Our mission statement is simply this. We enable organizations to rapidly assess, migrate, and monitor applications to be able to keep up with the accelerating pace of change in the IT environment. You can see that we are a Microsoft partner, and we've also partnered with Juriba and AppDNA to ensure that our solution covers all of the best technologies in this space. Just last year, we were voted by IDC Canada as one of the top 10 cloud companies to watch here in Canada. The challenge that most organizations are facing today is to get their application environment current, bring their applications up to date so that when they're migrating to a new operating system, they're in an agile position to be able to do so. With the move to Windows 7 and then the subsequent move to Windows Server 2008 in 2015, it's important that organizations are able to have their environments move quickly to those new platforms. So the migration to Windows 7 is on everyone's radar right now with XP support ending soon. So what does AppRx do exactly? Well, it's a SaaS platform that enables you to assess your app environment, remediate applications that are required, and migrate those applications to a new platform. Some of the technology that we're supporting today, we support migrations from XP to Windows 7, migrations to a virtualized environment, including AppV, Citrix XenApp hosted and XenApp Stream, as well as terminal services, and the migration from Server 2003 to 2008. We do also offer some support if you're moving web applications to a new browser, including Internet Explorer 8 and Internet Explorer 9. So AppRx provides you with the tools that you need for application portfolio management. You now have the ability to get your applications current, test your apps for compatibility, and ensure that your application portfolio is in compliance with organizational standards. So by current, what we mean is you keep your applications up to date and ensure that they're supported by the vendor. You don't want to be too many versions out of date. There are many advantages to keeping your app environment current, including performance, security fixes, things like that. Compatibility is the ability to test your applications that don't have a clear vendor upgrade path to a new operating system. So you test those applications for compatibility in your new environment, get a readout, a red, amber, green report of the application. What's the level of effort to move your applications? What exactly do I need to do to remediate these apps to get them to function properly in the new environment, and so on. Compliance is the ability to ensure that your apps don't fall too far behind the latest release. So you're going to want to know if you have a requirement in your organization to stay no more than 4 versions out of date behind the most current release. We give you the ability to do that from a single CIO dashboard. We also offer some exceptional reporting around that area to really simplify these efforts. So this diagram shows you how you can use AppRx to funnel your application portfolio down into the best buckets for your environment. If you look at the left side, you can see, just imagine that as being a hopper where you're dumping your applications into AppRx. The first step you're going to want to do is to rationalize your applications down. Do you have, a bunch of applications performing the same functions? Do you have multiple versions of your applications running on your environment? You can have an overall view of your environment here and kind of whittle down the stuff that you don't need in order to reduce your application footprint. Beyond that, you get to do your upgrade analysis, and that's when you view your application, the most current vendor releases for your cost app, the supportability for your existing environment. If your applications are currently not supported on your new OS, say Windows 7, but there is a new version displayed that is compliant with that operating system, can you upgrade to that right away? What are the implications of doing so? And that helps you whittle down even further the applications that will actually require OS compatibility testing. So the OS compat testing, that's something that you're going to want to do with applications that are either custom in-house apps or applications that don't have a vendor upgrade path or that do have a vendor upgrade path but are too costly to migrate. You want to maybe run a simple fix on them and see if they'll work in your environment. So you run your OS compat testing. Out of that, your output is basically green, amber, and red. The green apps you can move directly to UAT, and that helps you focus your resources more on the yellow apps, which require a medium level of remediation effort, and red apps, which require a little bit further remediation through possible redevelopment of code and that type of thing. If you have some red applications that you don't feel as though you can remediate to move on to your new OS, you might want to test those for virtualization compatibility, so you can further test those apps to see how they'll behave in a Citrix environment or an AppV environment. And finally, if there's anything left, you might want to look at redevelopment, rewriting an app, or replacing it or retiring it. This slide shows you how AppRx fits into your migration project. We come in really early in that process. So after you perform your initial inventory collection, you've gone out and found all your applications through whatever means. You've got an SCCM output, or you've the old traditional way of using spreadsheets. You take that information. You can import that information via CSV file. You can manually type it in, or you can actually upload installer files to AppRx to get that information into our portal. At that point, you begin your rationalization phase to lower the amount of applications that you're actually going to move into the new environment. Analyze those applications, going back to the vendor upgrade path. Is there something available? Am I compliant on these apps, or do I need to perform a compatibility analysis? And then the next step is to remediate the applications that require it, and finally move those applications to UAT, and then get them ready for deployment. Once that's done, you've got your ongoing operational use where you can refer back to your environment in AppRx and be apprised of any updates from vendors on new software releases, imminent end of support dates on your applications, and that type of thing. So just to reiterate the main features of AppRx, the application currency and compliance portion, so it helps you rationalize, do you have those multiple versions of one app? What can I whittle down? Keep current. Is there something newer that's available? Are there features that I'm missing out on? Is there a security update? Those types of things. Upgradable. Can I upgrade directly? Is there an older application that needs to go through an installation to a medium or a midpoint before you can get to the most current path, or can you upgrade directly from the old version to the new version? And finally, application age, which is what we call the N-. So how far behind are you? Am I 5 versions out of date? Am I 10 versions out of date, or am I current? Beyond that, the application compatibility, that's the testing where you take your applications, run the installer file through our analysis engine, and find out if your apps will work on the new OS. Are they compatible with virtualized environments? Will they work on a 64-bit OS? And finally, we offer interoperability testing to determine whether your applications will play well together. Will one application overwrite another? Those types of scenarios. So the places you can use AppRx in migration projects, so OS migration, moving to the new operating system, moving to a virtualized environment again, AppV, XenApp hosted and streamed, and browser upgrades if you're implementing a new browser and you have some web apps. How are these apps going to perform in those environments? Ongoing application management, again, is just ensuring that your apps are up to date and supported to make sure that you have the latest features and security and performance. So going back to our very beginning where we were doing this as a consulting company years ago, these are the 3 methods that organizations are looking at to get through this process. The first is manual, where you have staff actually install an application, see if it works. If it doesn't work, well, let's debug it. Let's look at some log files. Let's try to figure out what's going on here. That's a very labor-intensive operation, and it's quite expensive. Sorry about that. The other method is traditional software, where you're installing a software platform at your location on physical hardware. You're paying to get that hardware out, install the software, keep it maintained and up and running. That will speed your remediation, but it's quite costly as well. The benefit with our platform is that we're up and running right now. All it takes for you to get going is a username and password. You can have access to the system, within an hour, upload some files, and get your remediation reports back the same day. So the benefits, again, to the whole platform, the lower TCO, and that's the benefit of using cloud infrastructure and software as a service. You don't have to worry about the infrastructure installation or maintenance of that, and the automation of the platform reduces your manual resource costs. Rapid deployment, again, we're up and running right now. All you need is a username and password, and you're ready to go. We're agile. If you have multiple resources working across the globe, any one of them can access the platform through your account information, view those reports, remediate the software that's in there, upload the latest versions, and then have somebody on the other end pull that software down and deploy it in your environment right away. We're a very easy to use platform. The interface is very intuitive, simple to use. We do have a user guide, but most people don't need it. It's easy enough for anybody to use, from your tech resources all the way up to management can get value out of the tool and the reporting. We're flexible, self-service, use on demand. We're a 24/7 platform. We offer full support as well, and we're secure. So we use 128-bit SSL, encrypting our data in flight, and in the back end it's encrypted as well. And we do provide geo-specific hosting. If you're a U.S. company and you need to comply with the Patriot Act, we can facilitate that, and vice versa. So with that, I'd like to hand the control back to Barry.
Okay, thank you, Brian. So a little bit about Juriba. So Juriba is an independent software vendor. We're based in London, 4-year-old company, and much like Futurestate, we were made up of professionals that have really lived and breathed the problems of desktop transformation in the past, and felt that there must be a much more efficient way of delivering these programs than with the traditional methods. So what we did was we really looked to set up a company that would deliver software tools that would help organizations better manage desktop transformation. And what we do is our mission statement really is that we enable these organizations to rapidly inventory, assess, rationalize, plan ready, and transform the desktop environments to new platforms. So we're really taking an end-to-end approach to desktop transformation. And we've partnered with Microsoft. We've been working with Microsoft a long time, and quite often work with Microsoft on different customers of ours. We've been working with Changebase, Futurestate, and AppDNA to give us a wide breadth of application expertise within our platform as well, and within the partner companies. So what's the main challenge? Well, the main challenge really is that not only in desktop transformation, but in your BAU worlds, a lot of organizations really want to maintain as consistent an estate as possible across their desktop environment. And as soon as these estates start getting out of sync and the management of those things becomes difficult, what we're really looking to do is to try and create a much more centralized approach to managing these heterogeneous environments. And so what we often get asked is not only how can we help with day-to-day desktop delivery support and operational delivery, but how can we accelerate project delivery? And that's what we're really going to focus in on during the rest of the webinar. So what we've developed is a toolset called Dashworks, and Dashworks essentially is the heartbeat of desktop transformation for many customers that we have today. So we have nearly 1 million end users within the toolset that are being or have been transformed to the next desktop platform. And really what we look to do with Dashworks is that we're looking to facilitate the efficient planning to all of the different platforms listed below and help to manage the thousands of moving parts within any project. So that can be anything from refreshing inventory data to analyzing users for compatibility to forecasting those users for migration to managing a task on profile backup or AD group membership or communications out via email. All of these different things that have to happen within a program such as desktop transformation can all be done centrally within the Dashworks toolset. So we have 2 versions of our toolset. One is an on-site version and one is a cloud platform. The on-site version is really targeted at large enterprises. The cloud version is targeted at anything from 500 to 3,500 users. And we can take push or pull data feeds into the toolset. So essentially, when we set up and configure Dashworks, we have a 3-step process, and the first step of that is that we need to build your data warehouse. So taking all of your key desktop-related data into a centralized system. and that will be through connectors to Active Directory, SCCM, Altiris, scraping your MSI packages, taking feeds in from different solutions such as the Futurestate IT compliancy rating. And then what we do with all that data is we then profile users, and again what we then look to do is to give each of those users a compatibility rating, and one of the key facilitators of that compatibility rating is whether your software is compliant or whether it's current. And so we can use our linkage or technical linkage with the Futurestate platform to actually feed in that red, amber, green status against each of those different applications, which can then form part of that overall profile. Once we've done the assessment and we've identified where the quick hits are for migration, we can then move into our management platform, and this is where we're really looking to manage real-time project dashboards. So this is all about, have any of the tasks completed, what's our real-time schedule looking like, if we haven't got this application ready, what's the impact across the forthcoming forecast, and having all of those different hundreds of elements managed within a centralized tool set, which you can then use to report out from this centralized single version of the truth. And one of the main benefits of this is the governance ability that you get, because everyone's within the same system, therefore everyone's looking at the same data, therefore everyone's on the same page. So why are we here? Well, what we're primarily here to do is that if your organization is currently managing desktop transformation using spreadsheets like these, we believe there's a better way. What we've seen in the past and through different consultancy engagements and different organizations of any size you can imagine is that lots of people approach this with readiness spreadsheets, lots of program project managers, lots of business analysts, and they're all doing this manual task of updating readiness status. And if you're doing it this way, it's very difficult to provide any governance around the process. It's very difficult to manage change. So new joiners, leavers, application provisions, changes to someone's profile, new hardware. There's loads and loads of things that happen on a daily basis within the environment that if you're doing this on a spreadsheet, it's very, very difficult to keep in sync. And so our solution to this particular problem is to centralize it and make it much more dynamic. So our toolset Dashworks provides that centralized data warehouse for all the data refresh, but also has a whole bunch of application functions that allow us to do much more efficient online assessment. We can look at any single user or computer, departments, locations, and we can actually then manage that entire program and other programs. So it may not be just a desktop transformation. You may have an upcoming Exchange 2010 migration. You might be looking to roll out Office 365 or Office 2012 in the future. It may be that one of your departments is having a hardware refresh, or it may be that one of your departments is looking to offshore and virtualize a whole bunch of their desktops. So you know, there's a number of different projects that happen within our environments, and having a centralized system that you don't need to spin up from scratch the new project, but you can basically start from a 50% point whereby you've got all your inventory and you've got all your data and you're just literally creating the next process. So what we've found over the last 2 years of doing Windows 7 migration is that there's 10 key things that we've been able to pull out as best practice from the migrations that we've seen. You guys can read this yourselves, so I'll just pick out some of the main ones. But in the assessment and planning phase, the having of a central data warehouse is absolutely key. It underpins the entire program, and if you can get the data warehouse right, then it can absolutely drive a huge bunch of efficiencies within the program. One of which is to identify your green or compatible user wins. Now, if we're looking to drive early volumes, one of the things we need to be able to do in order to achieve that is to be able to do some analytics around the data and actually identify, okay, well, these 1,000 users are only one application away. If I convert this application, I'm going to get another 1,000 users, for example. Or these users look like they're very easy to migrate because the applications are both compatible and compliant from some of the analysis we've seen before. The second area is around application management. So really, building again a centralized capability around discovery and rationalization is absolutely key. What you move forward must be smaller than what you've got now, and if you can make it as small as possible, then you have a much greater chance of success with your migration. Equally, understanding that currency and compatibility level, but then using that data in a data-driven approach can help you prioritize the applications to do first. Absolutely key that if you're doing the right apps first, then you are getting the most efficient migration, because you're always going on an 80-20 rule, and you're always delivering 20% of the apps for 80% of the benefit if you're using a data-driven approach. And then finally, around readiness management. So again, within any project, having a single version of the truth is absolutely key. There are loads and loads of different ways of managing projects. Different project managers take different approaches to all of these different elements. And actually being able to then report that up and govern it from the top level program management office, and be able to change the direction of the program much, much more efficiently is absolutely key when you're managing it for large-scale enterprises. And then also having the ability to understand the change impact analysis and building in automation. So we always believe that within our customers we should be able to get 60-70% task management automation out of these programs. If you can achieve those sorts of levels, then you can absolutely do this thing with much fewer resources and with much less business disruption. And then finally, while we're talking about the business, one of the things that is a consistent theme of migrations that go wrong is that the business engagement model isn't correct. So what we've really found over the last 2 years is that the most successful migrations all have a significant element of business engagement, and it can be multifaceted. It can be email communications, it can be marketing, it can be self-service on application validation, or self-service scheduling, or businesses actually doing the scheduling and capacity management in conjunction with IT. And of course all these things are only possible if you're all working from the same platform and within the same data. Now if you're doing a desktop transformation and you're doing some of these things, that's absolutely brilliant. If you're doing all 10, I think you've got the most or the greatest chance of success with your migration. Okay, so how can a toolset like Dashworks help with those 10 key elements? Well, what we do really to start off with is that our data warehouse works to profile all of our users. So you can look at a Barry Angel, you can see which computers he owns, which applications he's got entitlements to, which applications he's got installed. So that's all great from a BAU perspective. But then what we can do is we can link out to Futurestate, and we can get that RAG status in per application. And we can also, within our toolset, align some business rules around how you want to see the hardware. So a supported manufacturer model list, or maybe a minimum specification for a green computer. And then we can use that information to profile the user in terms of a RAG status for compatibility. And then again, where we've got the ability through the data warehouse, we can then wrap that data up right up to a global organizational level, and then drill down through it, through departments and or locations, right the way down back to the granular level, with a view that we can show at any level of your organization how green are you and where should your priorities be in terms of remediation. Now, once we've done that analysis, we can then go and talk about how we're going to manage readiness. So we're really into project execution mode at this point. We've done our analysis, we're continuing to do our analysis, we're feeding the project with the most efficient users. And then what we're looking to do is really map your organizational project process into the tool set. So this is the ability to set a project up exactly how you want to manage it. So that's in terms of the tasks you're going to manage, that's in terms of how you're going to do your analysis, how each task impacts readiness status, and then having the ability to take those users, assess them, ready them, schedule them, and report on them through that central system, so that you get the ability to see, let's say, 500 users drop from Friday's schedule. Well, what impact did that just have on the applications you needed to get ready for Friday? Well, the reality is you probably don't need to get as many of those applications ready anymore, and your new application list might be for the Tuesday because there was a whole bunch of users scheduled for that Tuesday. And so what we do with the project system is that we underpin that with an API layer, and that allows us to extract and input information into the central data warehouse in the most efficient manner, and also allows you to execute and trigger events based on things or tasks turning to a different status. Okay, so just to reiterate on Dashworks features. So Dashworks itself is a tool set that is very much out of the box. So we build this business intelligence system by connecting into your different data sources, or you feeding it the data sources via CSV. We can connect into Active Directory, SCCM, and a number of other tools to get that data in the most efficient way and refresh it. And then we provide a whole bunch of different visuals on that data. We provide a self-service reporting engine. And the idea is that you can then start to involve lots of different people in the program, from business users right the way up through the IT users to CIO level dashboards. What we can also do with that data is obviously help with application rationalization. We run algorithms that tell you which applications to prioritize, and we can also give much more business alignment around the reporting. So which applications is this line of business using in this particular location, and we can do that down to whatever level of hierarchy you want. And then finally, with the readiness management, this is where we're really managing the execution piece and readiness piece of the program. And again, this is all around, can we show a single dashboard with single real-time change impacts, automate things like email communications and other tasks, and then have that exactly how the project managers want to see it in their own groups and sub-chunks of groups, so that you can manage that exactly the way that you want to manage it going forward. And so finally, just a quick reiteration of what we're trying to achieve. So we believe there is a better way than this. If you are managing it on spreadsheets, we believe you can do it more efficiently. And if you can do these things and get a system set up so that you can take it forward, not just for this project where you're going to throw away all your spreadsheets, but go into the next project and have that baseline where you can start, we believe that's a much, much better place to be than if we do it via the old traditional methods. And so finally, just a little piece on the value proposition of the two tools together. So hopefully you've seen today how the two tools can integrate and really give you a great end-to-end approach to desktop transformation, how we can manage the application estate much, much more efficiently than other methods, and how we can centralize all this information to give us the biggest benefit in terms of business engagement and moving the transformation forward. And so really it's all around these four key elements. So doing it faster, doing it more accurately, and then as a result we should be able to reduce the risk, reduce the business disruption. And where we've combined the tool sets in customers, we're seeing a massive reduction in the amount of cost that people need to budget for desktop transformation. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time and pass back to Helen for any questions that may have come through on the chat box.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Barry and Brian, for the very informative presentation. I'd like to now field some of the questions that are coming through. The first question is for Barry. How do you load data into Dashworks?
Okay, yeah. So when we implement Dashworks on site, we use our certified connectors to bring data into Dashworks. So this is connectors where we've worked with Microsoft and Semantic to bring in data from SCCM and Active Directory and Altiris, and all of that data can then be refreshed. In our cloud version, we look to load the data via a CSV import. So this is where we drop a CSV file into our secure inbox, and Dashworks will then process that information into the engine. So both methods are available. It just depends which flavor of Dashworks that you've chosen to run your program in, be it the on-site version or the cloud version.
Okay, thank you, Barry. The next question is for Brian. How accurate are the compatibility reports in FRX?
Great question. So the accuracy of the applications is very high. The back-end analysis tool that we use, we're leveraging AppDNA, which has been around for quite a while and has been in use with a lot of major players. They update their system quite frequently, and we do as well. So in terms of percentage, I would have to say it's as close to 99% as you can get. But again, it's always improving. Any new changes to the database that we use, the algorithms that we use, only increases our performance. But we're right up there at the top.
Okay, thank you, Brian. For Barry, how integrated is the FRX with Dashworks?
Yeah, so we've been working together for a number of months now on making the integration as seamless as possible. So just to give you an example, we recently did a proof of concept with a customer where we loaded 100 applications from the Dashworks inventory up into the AppRx tool, analysed them for currency and compatibility, and loaded that information back down. And that was all done within a 4-hour period. So they're very, very integrated in terms of getting information to and from the different services. And we are continuing to work within our combined roadmaps on making some other functionality available. So maybe the ability to select an application in Dashworks and have it automatically analysed for currency and compatibility from a button within the toolset. So at the moment what we do is we link that data very, very quickly together, and the roadmaps are very much designed to make those tool sets very, very seamless, or as seamless as possible for organisations to use.
Great. The next question is for Brian. What are the supported OS platforms by FRX?
Okay, that's a great question as well. So we touched on Windows 7 and Windows Server 2008, but with those reports we also provide Windows Vista reporting, FP2, Windows XP Service Pack 3. We're on Windows 7 SP1 now. And then with the server infrastructure, we have Server 2003, 2008, as well as 2008 R2. And in the virtual space, we have AppV, Citrix XenApp hosted and XenApp streamed, as well as terminal services and the browser support for IE8 and IE9.
Wonderful. We've got a couple of minutes left, so I am going to take one more question, field one more question. Barry, this one is for you. How quickly can the two solutions be set up and configured?
Yeah, so that's another great question. So effectively what we can do is within a few hours we can have the entire application estate inventoried, and we can have links between the two tool sets that can then analyze those applications for compatibility and for currency. And we can then use that information very quickly to give some great reports by line of business and location and globally and down to user levels on exactly what impact all of those applications are having. So as I said before, we can do this very, very fast for any organisation that wants to sign up. We can have and help accelerate those analysis and assessment phases on the applications within hours where we have the data set available.
Great. That concludes our webinar for today. I have put up both the Juriba as well as the Futurestate IT contact information. But as I mentioned at the start of the webinar, we will also be sending out an email with a link to this recorded webinar. So feel free to look through that once you receive the email.